Did you know the moment you climb into bed tonight, your body either begins healing itself or slowly destroying itself, based entirely on what you did in the last 90 minutes? A retired surgeon just exposed the 5 nighttime habits, quietly dismantling your organs while you sleep. And the most dangerous one, you're probably doing it right now. I spent over 3 decades operating on human bodies. I have seen hearts failing long before the patient knew anything was wrong. Livers forced into double shifts nobody asked them to take. Spines quietly collapsing 1 millimeter at a time. The damage was real, carved into tissue, written in scar formation, legible to anyone who has spent enough years behind a surgical mask. And not once did a single patient connect what they were doing at 10 o'clock at night to what I was finding on the operating table years later. That connection is what this video is about. The hours between your last waking moment and your first breath of morning are not downtime. They are the most biologically active period of your entire day. Your liver detoxifies. Your brain clears accumulated metabolic waste. Your cardiovascular system repairs its inner lining. Your hormonal systems reset. Your immune response organizes and consolidates. None of that happens without the right conditions being in place. And there are 5 things most people do every single night that make those conditions impossible. The first is eating after 8 in the evening. Your liver operates on a biological schedule that has nothing to do with your personal preferences. During daylight hours, it handles glucose regulation and general processing. After dark, its primary function shifts to detoxification, clearing the cellular waste your body has generated across the entire waking period. When food arrives late, that process stops. The liver is pulled back into digestion. The detox window closes. The waste that should have been cleared stays in circulation. I have seen this confirmed during surgery, in tissue that had no business looking the way it did in a person of that age. Not heavy drinkers, not medically obese. They just ate late, every night, for decades. There is a second mechanism. Your body stores fat significantly more efficiently at night because circadian biology governs your insulin response. And that response is measurably worse after dark. The same meal lands differently depending on when you eat it. A late dinner is not a timing preference, it is a different metabolic event. Then there is silent acid reflux, esophageal erosion that develops for years without a single symptom the patient would recognize. The damage accumulates invisibly. Your final meal should be finished a minimum of 3 hours before you lie down, not 2. 3. The second habit is screen exposure in the final hour before sleep. Harvard researchers compared blue light against green light of equivalent brightness and found that blue light suppressed melatonin production for approximately twice as long. Your phone, your television, your tablet, every one of those screens signals noon to your brain. Melatonin halts. Cortisol stays elevated. Your body remains locked in an alert state through the hours it should be spending in repair. Memory consolidation happens during deep sleep. If screen exposure delays your sleep onset by even 45 minutes, you are not simply going to bed late. You are cutting into the only window in which that consolidation occurs. The brain does not make it up. That processing is lost. I have reviewed the neurological markers of patients in their mid-40s that I would expect to find in someone 20 years older. Every one of them believed their sleep was fine. None of them had counted their evening screen hours. No screens 60 minutes before sleep. That is the clinical minimum, not a lifestyle suggestion, not a preference. A biological requirement your body is enforcing whether you cooperate with it or not. The third habit is sleeping in the wrong position. Stomach sleeping places your cervical spine in continuous rotation for 6 to 8 hours every night. The compression on vertebral discs and the nerve pathways between them is slow, nightly, and cumulative. Position-related spinal damage takes years to surface, then arrives suddenly, because the threshold was finally crossed and the body can no longer compensate. Right side sleeping worsens acid reflux. The anatomy is straightforward. The positioning of the lower esophageal sphincter relative to stomach contents changes based on which side you are on. For patients already experiencing silent erosion, this matters considerably. Researchers at Stony Brook University found in animal studies that lateral sleeping on either side was significantly more efficient for the brain's glymphatic system. The glymphatic system is the pathway through which the brain clears metabolic waste during sleep, including the proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease. It is most active during sleep and nearly inactive during waking hours. What it clears, or fails to clear, has long-term neurological consequences that accumulate over a lifetime. Side sleeping, left or right. Either is substantially better than stomach or back. If this is already surprising you, wait until you hear habit 4 and 5. But first, if you find this advice valuable, hit that like button and subscribe so more people receive this information before it is too late. The fourth habit is going to bed without adequate hydration. Blood viscosity, its thickness, increases when the body is not sufficiently hydrated. Thicker blood moves through the smaller vessels of the cardiovascular system with greater resistance. The heart compensates by working harder. This is not a dramatic event you would feel. It is a sustained, invisible load levied on your cardiac muscle across the duration of every inadequately hydrated night. Epidemiological research consistently shows that cardiac events and strokes cluster heavily between 6 in the morning and noon. That window follows the overnight period in which blood pressure surges with waking, platelet activity peaks, and the cardiovascular system is already under maximum circadian stress. Beginning that period, already dehydrated compounds every one of those factors simultaneously. The kidneys cannot perform their overnight filtration without adequate fluid. Cellular repair slows or halts entirely. 300 to 400 milliliters of water 30 minutes before sleep. Not immediately before. You do not want to disrupt sleep with trips to the bathroom. 30 minutes. That is enough for the fluid to distribute before you go down. The fifth habit is the one that damages the most people and gets ignored the longest. 30 million Americans have obstructive sleep apnea. 80% of them do not know it. Those figures come from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. In every one of those undiagnosed cases, the airway repeatedly collapses during sleep. Oxygen saturation drops. The brain triggers a partial arousal to restore breathing. The cycle repeats dozens of times per hour. The patient remembers none of it. They wake up exhausted and assume they simply need more sleep. What is actually happening? The heart is compensating under severe physiological stress every single night, year after year. Some of the hearts I operated on were damaged primarily by this, by years of undetected apnea that nobody had screened for because nobody had thought to ask. Untreated obstructive sleep apnea increases the risk of heart failure by 140%. It increases the risk of stroke by 60%. Those figures appear consistently across the peer-reviewed literature, including research connected to the Sleep Heart Health Study, one of the largest cardiovascular sleep investigations ever conducted. The warning signs are loud snoring, morning headaches, and daytime exhaustion that does not resolve regardless of how many hours you spend in bed. If 2 or more of those apply to you, record yourself sleeping tonight and take that recording to your physician. A home sleep test is accessible and available through most general practitioners. The question is whether you make the appointment. 3 questions for your next visit. Could my nighttime habits be contributing to my current symptoms? Should I be screened for sleep apnea given my profile? And what is my personal overnight cardiovascular risk? Write them down before you go. Your protocol, starting tonight, and this is simple enough to implement on the first attempt. Finish your final meal 3 hours before sleep. Put every screen away 60 minutes before bed. Drink 300 to 400 milliliters of water 30 minutes beforehand. Lie on your side. And if 2 or more sleep apnea warning signs apply to you, loud snoring, morning headaches, unresolved exhaustion, make the appointment this week. A poor night is not just tiredness. It is accumulated biological damage to your liver, your cardiovascular system, your spine, your brain. And it compounds quietly, without symptoms, without warning, until the threshold is crossed. Every night you repeat these habits is another night your body did not get the repair window it was built for. Every one of these habits is reversible. None require a prescription. None require surgery. They require a decision. Maintain the system before it fails, or meet the failure later. Every patient I described had a version of this conversation available to them, years before they needed me. Most of them simply never had it. If this video opened your eyes, subscribe to this channel. I share medical insights that most people only hear when it is already too late. Hit the bell so you never miss what could protect your health next.